I've been in some of the worst places in terms of my life and like how I felt about business and how I felt about being a business owner. And I hit some real serious lows. So for me to be able to crawl out of it, I feel like anybody can.
You have your trailer,
Yeah.
which evolves into the Peach Tortilla. Then you have the Peach Social House, and now we are at Bar Peach.
That's correct.
And on top of that, you are now a published cookbook author. What an exciting journey.
It's an incredible journey. I honestly never went out seeking to write a book. It wasn't something that, I was trying for. It just kind of happened.
It's not your traditional cookbook because this is kind of like a memoir of your life.
It is. It's a cookbook first. My publisher wanted a cookbook and they were very adamant, like, hey, this has got to be a cookbook. And I was very adamant, like, hey, like for people to really understand this cookbook, like we have to take them back and we have to help them understand where I come from and my journey and the cultures that have inspired and influenced me. Because otherwise it may not make sense to people,
yes,
so to speak.
And that's what I love, because this is from Tokyo to Texas. Like, you take people through the story because you were born in Tokyo.
That's correct.
And then you moved to Georgia.
I was born in Tokyo. My mother's Chinese. My dad is American from New York. And then I moved to Atlanta when I was 11. Atlanta had a big impact on me because it was really the first time I had lived in America. Culturally, I was very confused as a kid because, I was American citizen. My dad's American, my mom's Chinese. I'm living in Japan for 11 years, go to international school. So I really don't really know what's going on, like who am I? It's kind of like a cultural fusion, which is why we end up cooking food the way we do.
And where your namesake comes from. I'm guessing, right? The Peach is Atlanta, Georgia.
The Peach is an homage to Atlanta, the Peach State. Even though I only spent 6 years in Atlanta had a big impact on me. And, I always have a love for Atlanta.
When you came to Austin, how did this city support what you wanted to do?
And the city's been tremendously supportive. And we have people that support me, support my restaurants that I met 9 years ago, that I served off the food truck. And I think Austin people are very unique. I think it's an extremely hospitable city in general. People are so open to talking and meeting strangers. And I think a lot of it has to do with just so many different people coming from different cities. Just even in my neighborhood, in my street, like it's like what you would think America was 20, 30 years ago, where families get together and they watch sports together and they take care of each other's kids. It's a very communal environment, and Austin supported me in that way.
What is it like when you get customers who knew you from the truck and then come into one of your establishments?
It's great. I mean, they know me by name. At this point we're like Facebook friends, they know a lot about me. I think a truly successful restaurant becomes inherently part of the DNA of the city. And you can only get to that point through genuine relationships, friendships, genuine hospitality. And that's what I want us to be known for, ultimately.
Yeah. What's the nicest compliment you've ever gotten?
I mean, I think a lot of people say that we're genuinely hospitable. And that's just not me, that's my staff, that's my management team. And I think we genuinely care about people and their experience. If somebody doesn't have a good experience, we take it personally, like we need to do better, And we take a lot of pride in that. So when somebody says, hey, you guys are genuinely hospitable, that means a lot to us, for sure.
I feel like I have one more question on this little candlelight, and it might be the most important one.
Yeah.
For anyone who is sitting in the shoes that you were 9 years ago.
That's a great question.
What's your advice?
My advice for anyone who starts a business or starts anything is, one, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I say that a lot. You can't just try to accomplish everything in a month or two. It takes years. I wish I had known that early on. I really tried to sprint out the gate and I hit some lows pretty quickly. And two, it's always darkest before dawn. When you think that it's not gonna happen, your dreams fading away, you don't have the money you need to support yourself, things will eventually turn. You may have to get out of that hole day by day, inch by inch, but it will happen. Because I have been in some of the worst places in terms of my life and like how I felt about business and how I felt about being a business owner. And I hit some real serious lows. So for me to be able to crawl out of it, I feel like anybody can.
That's so perfect. Thank you for that. That's such a good message, and I'm so grateful to get to share that. And you're living proof that when you follow your heart, bliss follows that and doors open
I appreciate that. Thank you.
and stomachs open. And luckily we have spoons for all these desserts. Shall you?
Blow it out?
Yeah. Thanks, Eric. Cheers to you.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.